Hi everyone. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you watched part 1 where we started breaking down the sourcing and reliability tool. Okay, you're here for part 2, so that means you probably know that we're up to step 4, which deals with perspective, purpose, bias, and audience. But just to recap before we continue, okay? In our first video, we spoke about the tool and we completed parts 1, 2, and 3. This video, we're going to speak about understanding this part 4 of the sourcing reliability tool, and we're going to explain perspective, purpose, bias, and audience, and we're going to model a little bit for parts 5 and 6. In our final video of this series, we're going to have sentence starters to help you with sourcing and reliability tool that we're working on today. Okay, here we go. Now, the next step of the tool, and this is where it gets complicated a little bit, is they're going to ask you to reread for perspective, purpose, bias, and audience, so you can establish reliability. So before I go anywhere now, I need to talk about that. What do I mean? Okay, the first step is with perspective. What is perspective? The POV, as my students call it, the point of view. Where is this person coming from? How do they see the world? It's not their bias, that's their slant. Okay, it's kind of like when you did the W's when you were younger, who, what, where, when, why. It's the who and the what, kind of. The who and what is the main idea, meaning how, but how do they form their main idea? Meaning, what point is the author trying to make? And how does the author's background or position impact their message? Meaning, it could be anything: race, class, gender, age, region, occupation, value, motive, where they're coming from, where they live. How does that influence where they're coming from? Meaning, why does that make them say what they say and who they are? It's not what they think about something. It's meaning, where are they coming from? Okay, it's the who. The purpose is the what and the why. Meaning, why was this source made? What was the author, speaker, artist trying to do? It's actually, in a way, the most important part, because you're saying, what is this thing talking about? What are they doing? Why? Why? I drive my students crazy about purpose. They don't like me for it. Bias, and I collect glasses, so you'll have to excuse me for using this analogy. What glasses are they wearing? What lenses are in those glasses do they use to see the world? Do they see things from one side or from multiple perspectives? Do they have ulterior motives? What is their deeper reason for saying what they said? What were they trying to do? I know I make it sound like some evil movie or something, like what would the nasty person trying to get somebody else to do? But it can also be in a positive way. What was like someone trying to influence someone else to do a good thing? Don't always think of it as necessarily ulterior motives as a negative thing. And finally, the audience. To whom is this piece directed? Who was this said, written, spoken to? Is it one person, a small group, a large group, a certain person, certain people at a certain time? Then after you do that, you can determine reliability. So now, when you go back and read the source, you're going to look for the perspective again, the purpose, the bias, and the audience. So I'm going to take you back to the source. You can pause your video, take a look at it. You're looking for the purpose, perspective, bias, and audience over here. When you're ready, play the video again, and you can do it again. Look for the 2 P's, bias, and audience. Okay, what did you come up with? Here is what the lovely social studies people from the city of New York came up with. Okay, they said that Vladimir Lenin's point of view was to allow more capitalism in the economy. The country was facing economic hardship from the Russian Revolution and the civil war that followed it between the Red Russians and the White Russians, which hurt the peasants. Lenin believed the NEP would help the peasants by allowing them free trade of any extra agriculture. The purpose of the NEP was to increase production so that the peasants and the working class would benefit. So this is the who. It's the point of view telling us what was going on over here. Help the peasants. The purpose is, I told you, the what and the why. Increase production. Notice they didn't give a bias. They say, is there bias? think about who the author of the speech is. Well, was Lenin biased? Yeah, he wanted communism to survive. So I would say his bias, his ulterior motive, his glasses are do whatever you need to do to get it to survive. It being communism, a socialist form of government. His audience was the political education department and fellow Soviets so they could implement the plan and carry it out to the rest of the country. Notice these colors up here match what we did before. The perspective is blue, purpose is red, bias is purple, and audience is pink. I just color coded it, and you might want to do the same thing for yourself whenever you use this tool. Because then the next step is you're going to have to give it a rating. Where does this come out? Okay, how reliable or unreliable is this source? So let's see what they said. They say, this is the social studies people, the document is somewhat reliable and it explains how Lenin plans to help the peasants economically by implementing or carrying out some capitalist features into the economy. We can infer and we can figure out from the document that creating a plan to help the peasants who constitute or make up a huge section of the population is important in keeping power. It is also somewhat useful as it helps us understand that economically, peasants were struggling and this situation may have caused them to turn the support to a totalitarian leader. So is this document useful in understanding the rise of totalitarianism in Russia? I'd probably put it around here because it doesn't quite talk about totalitarianism, but it tells you how the Russian peasants got more desperate. And when Lenin died, or, well, we're not going to go down the road of who helped him die, or if he was helped to die. But when that happened, totalitarianism did happen. Not laughing about it. I'm just like, but that happened. So something must have happened that way. So again, remember, when you have to break it down, you're doing perspective for the point of view, right? The what and the why. The what glasses is the author wearing? How did they see the world? What do they want to happen? Do they have ulterior motives? And finally, their audience. Who are they speaking to? If you can do that, then you've already beaten the beginning of the tool. In the next video, we're going to start to analyze what language you should use when you try to use this tool to write about this tool. But if you watch this, you're on your way.